to get into it. Who's the we? Well, so there's a lot of ways we could sort of segment and map out who is this we of which we speak. So let's start with CSL as a global organization, because they do have a what we believe on our website. And as you know, or may not know, this whole movement, this whole science of mind or spiritual living kind of consciousness was it kind of grew about 100 years ago. How it grew from I don't think it's a mistake that you look back on the industrial age, how things started becoming more and more possible. In a very short amount of time, we figured out air travel, we figured out cars, we figured out automation of those things. So a lot of people could have a lot of things at scale because factories were created. And then there was a couple wars to really kick that into gear. And during that time, people were waking up to, wait a minute, maybe I don't have to follow the scripted, organized religion. Maybe the ancient and ageless wisdom over the millennia, maybe what they had to say is actually relevant, actually palpable now. And that was 100 years ago. So as we look back and we see what this organization, it's organized, but it's not a religion, it's a spiritual teaching. Let's see what they have to say about what we believe, the we that I'm talking about, what we believe about wholeness. And right here it says if you go to csl.org and what we believe, you'll see all of the different things. We envision a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life. A world where this kinship with all life prospers and connects through the guidance of spiritual wisdom and experience. So that kind of says it all, spiritual wisdom and experience. In other words, don't just believe us because we told you. Why not take these principles? Which principles? Well, if you were here for the opening sacred space, we were talking about how the high principles, the pillars of study, meditation, circulation, we give back and we receive. So we have these principles that are overarching, and we didn't think of them, but we definitely embrace them as the high way of living, the high choices that we can make to elevate ourselves and each other through spiritual living. This is the place this is the we of which we speak. So when I talk about this idea for the talk, where we say what we believe about wholeness, interconnected with all life, which means all people, even those people, yes, even those people, because those people are us. We are those people. There's no separation, although we love to buy into the fact that there is some separation, because we certainly look separate from each other, don't we? But it's a myth. It's a myth. We live in a world, in fact, that really kind of elevates the idea of the solo act. How many times have you seen, oh, I'm self-made? No one is. No one is. And the isolation that, especially in the West, that we encourage each other to just go into isolation because reasons, fill in the blanks. And then you come out of this zeitgeist. Tamara was talking about it, where sometimes you're on social media and the advertisers would love for you to think that you're not enough. But if you act now, you will be enough. Just buy this thing, do this thing, follow this thing, donate here, give this thing, become something, because you're not quite there yet. And then the most awakened part of us has a feeling of, wait a minute, this doesn't seem right. You just pointed out a difference. In fact, you created a difference so that you could step in and say, do you want us to solve that for you? The joke in the back of my mind that really wants to be said has to do with some of these diseases that some companies will come up with, and they'll give it a name and they'll convince you this is a problem. And all you have to do is take this medicine. And then if you hang around on the ad long enough, there's all this fine print about all the other things that could go wrong, because You tried to solve a problem that you had to be convinced that you had so that you can solve it, but don't forget side effects may include and da 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 da. Right. It's kind of interesting. And at the same time that we're being sold this, there's a part of us that's saying, wait a minute, we are all one. So how does it all fit? How do we live like we belong to one spiritual family or one family? We are all one, when at the same time we're allowing all this input to come to us that says we're separate, we're not good enough. And it's just really just a dichotomy. It's a conflict. It's one of those dissonance. It's a cognitive dissonance. So we're trying to find our wholeness while being isolated, which is kind of like trying to find the ocean by going to the desert, removing yourself and going to the desert so you can find the real ocean. So no, it doesn't make any sense. So I think we should just stop trying to heal everything by ourselves, because being by ourselves is causing problems that can be only healed by being in community. The very separation of ourselves, it's what's causing the problem. So the idea is that you're exhausted, but it's not because you're working so hard. It's because you're trying to lift everything yourself. That's the real problem. So what does that mean? Well, it means that you weren't meant to do any of this alone. And if you were, all of these other ways that nature works in concert with each other, those things wouldn't be yelling at us. Like, we have nature yelling the idea of cooperation, yelling at us. There's no elevated instance where this one thing separated itself from everything else and it did much better. Have you watched the nature videos? It doesn't work out well for the one who hangs behind the group. And I get it. We start thinking, I need to stand out and I need to individualize myself so that I can be special from this group, because I'm not like those other people. And the problem is that I've talked about this a couple times, we've taken all the things we fear and we cast it upon other people. And then we use that as a reason to run away, because we can convince ourselves with the brain, with the mind that's not connected to the heart. We convince ourselves that there's a problem, it's out there, and all I have to do is get away. But then we find ourselves by ourselves, and then the problem is we can't heal ourselves by ourselves. We need each other. So I think what I'm trying to say is, maybe you're in the wrong group. Maybe you're in a room or a group of people who don't really see you. And therefore, when they do turn toward you, is it a lot of negativity? Get in a different group, man. That's not cool. If you feel terrible around the people that you're hanging around, I don't blame you for wanting to get away. But the answer is not get away, stay away. People are terrible. The answer is get away and go toward the people who you want to be like, the people that you would love to have them, some of their high parts reflected in you. And then you can also give to that and have your high parts reflected in them. And this is what nature is teaching us. Remember what I was telling you about the symphony, about how everyone who plays a different instrument is sitting in a certain part of this orchestra setting, and there's a director who knows exactly what should come in and how to do a crescendo and how to do the quiet and how to do it just right. And we're going to need every little sound, because everybody has a part to play in this beautiful cacophony, which individually would not have the same umph as it has as the big group. This is the idea, that all we have to really do is try not to sound exactly like each other, not to play exactly the same instrument as each other, play slightly differently, so that it just, when it all comes up, it's just so beautiful with all the differences coming through as a whole fabric of amazing sound. So your uniqueness, it turns out, was no reason to separate yourself from the group. Your uniqueness is exactly what's needed in the moment so that you too can add to the beauty of what this life is. Don't separate yourself. Get in there and do your part in only the way that you can. So that is why anyone who wants to find their spiritual oneness, definitely do that. And you definitely can do it in your own place. You separate to connect with the divine, but then you emerge out of that and into the ability to give and to add to the beauty of nature. I talked also about the woods, how you go into the woods, and oh, isn't it interesting? In a beautiful forest, a sacred forest, all of the trees standing individually. Sure, they're standing individually on the surface. But remember, we talked that if you went down under the ground and you looked, you would see that all of the roots of the trees are connected. In the WWW, the World Wood Wide Web. No. All right, I'll keep my day job, seriously. The Wood Wide Web. It's connecting all of the trees. And when you have a sapling, it pulls what it needs from the root system. And then you have another tree. You remember we discussed that if one tree sensed something dangerous was happening, it would send a signal out. And all of the requirements needed would happen underneath the root system. I know they look like separate, standalone, independent beings, but underneath there's a fabric. There's the undergirding under the soil in the darkness that connects them all. So they're sharing water, they're sharing nutrients, even anything struggling will pull a little more from what's available. And I love this because it's not like one of the trees that has a lot, let's call it the billionaire tree. It does not have to consciously send a few more packets of nutrients to the poor little sucker on the side. It's all right. I'm giggling to myself because my brain is giving me all kinds of imagery, but the tree that has a lot of nutrients automatically just emits nutritious goodies. And since it's an interconnected system, if there's any lack or limitation happening in another direct, let's say sapling, then it would automatically pull more from the overflow that's happening from those that have a lot. It's just like our veins. So let's leave the very nice metaphor of how the trees in the forest appear to be individuals, but they are one whole living, breathing. It's a living being and it breathes. Let's move to the body, because the body is something we all can get with what goes on in the body. We've had biology class, and we know that the heart pumps on a regular basis nutrients throughout the body. And we know that your body is a closed system, meaning that circulation can happen because it's like the cabin air pressure when you're flying in a plane, isn't it? Isn't it a lot like that? Where if there's a breach, or if all of the energy just kind of flies out of that way, your system's closed. And so if you had an organ that was kind of needing a little extra zhuzh, then your body just knows how to deliver the nutrients to that area. And when it does too much, then that's when we have some imbalances in our systems that then have to be healed. But imagine if one of your organs decided, you know what? Forget these people. I want to be independent. I'm on my own. I'm going to go and do something separate because I don't want to. That's a problem. This is not good. And if that does happen, unfortunately, let's say you're out in the cold and you have some extremity and then it gets frostbitten. I mean, there's no coming back from that if you let it go too far. I think you're all hearing my drift. We are all part of something bigger than just us. And there's something that happens when we start believing the untruth that we are separate, nobody gets us. It's the negative voice in our brains that's our worst fears that causes us to experience, even if it's only in our mind, a sense of ostracizing, where nobody likes me, nobody loves me. And that is the worst mental state for a human being, to be isolated from others. We are meant to be with one another. And so now, if you're having problems, if you're thinking, well, I've had to isolate for reasons, I've had to do this. Well, for a long time, people have been studying this idea of empathy. And empathy used to be considered a personality trait that you're either born with or you're not born with it. And those people who find themselves ostracized, or they take themselves out of a social construct because they're tired of being hurt, or whatever story that we're telling ourselves, they might judge themselves and say, well, I just don't have it. I can't see that I'm connected to everybody else. I don't see that. Also, I wasn't born with empathy. Well, it turns out that science proved that we were wrong. So there's a study, 2025, they did a study in USC that empathy is trainable. Trainable. Empathy is actually a muscle. So the study showed that when we are cooperative in an environment that makes us want to help someone, one person's success in this world benefits other people's success. Then they found that we're biologically wired to want success for someone else when we feel that we are going to mutually benefit from it. And so, doesn't this make sense? If you think about that forest floor, and the forest floor of we're all connected, then I imagine that even the sapling wants that big billionaire tree to be successful because it makes all of them successful. So right now, in fact, there's a community strong together movement. It just started a few months ago in May 2026. Community strong together. People are intentionally choosing unity over division and faith over fear. So they're looking at connecting with other people, even if on the surface we seem nothing alike. Well, we know that's just surface. That's not really the truth of who we are. We're all truly connected. So they're actually practicing the empathy muscle. I want to call it, they're doing they're going to the empathy gym. The point is that when you put stress on your muscle, over time, that muscle gets bigger because you're training that muscle. And how do you train it? You put more weight on it than it's used to. And then while you're sleeping and with the right nutrients, that muscle says, uh-oh, you know what? I'm going to buff up because next time she lifts that weight, I'm going to be able to do it. And you just keep putting stress on a muscle. Over time, you'll build a bigger one. You can just do things more simply. It's easier the more you do it. Empathy is like that too. So they put themselves in scenarios that initially cause them to, I want to see that person as other, but I'm doing this on purpose. I'm building my empathy muscle. It's amazing what you can talk yourself into. And so it's science discovering a hack on how to get people to give a you know what about each other. So what if it were a muscle? Are you willing to go to the empathy gym? I'm just saying. I think that's quite interesting. In fact, I want to invite you to practice the presence of the divine and then let the wholeness that we connect to, because I guess I have to say that if we don't practice the presence individually, we are just going through the motions and hoping it all works out. There's not as much conviction, there's not as much gravitas to what we're doing as when we sit with the divine and we just know that there's a spiritual practice inherent in a community organization like ours that will invite us to practice empathy with each other. Sitting with ourselves, knowing that we're connected, then rising up and noticing, I am connected to you. I do hear what you're saying. And I know that when I hear you talking, I can jump right into the, oh, well, let me play devil's advocate. Or maybe I could just listen and practice my empathy. So, pulling us out of our comfort zone, it starts with as you're walking through life. And just in the next few hours, notice what you pay attention to and notice diversity. Does it exist in your world? Do you have people, and they could be on social media, it could just be who you're following, who pops up on your feed, or maybe put that phone down and go out to the grocery store. What do you notice? Is your community full of people who are walking around and people who are rolling around? Does it include people who are married and people who decide not to be married? Is it full of people who are on all parts of the gender identification spectrum? Does it include, just keep going. So diversity doesn't just mean the color of your skin, it means how you show up in the world. Does it include people who may have developmental disabilities on many different visual levels or the invisible spectrum, right? Look, notice what is there and notice what's not there and just take it in. And then because you're watching and you're looking around, I want you to send nutrients. Send nutrients. What is a nutrient? It's a smile. It's acknowledgement. How many people expect to be ignored? Say hi to them, and not in a way that demands that they see you back. Just say hi and don't, a little non-committal is fine. Just a little nod, see people, interact with them and see if they want to interact with you. Little nutrients. So you're sending this through the root system of humanity. And that's just on the social level. If you want to take it one level deeper, get online and find some organization that you can send $5. Feed someone for $5. There's all kinds of places that would love a $5 donation. I'm not talking a big gesture. You don't have to come up with a check the size of a Volkswagen and give it to someone. Little tiny baby steps. And what you're doing is you're demonstrating God, the divine, in action. You are building the world that we want. We build the world we want, but not by building higher walls to keep everybody out. That's not the way to do it. We set up really big tables so more people can sit. And so instead of keeping people out, we're inviting people in, and watch how who we think we are grows bigger and bigger. In fact, the most radical spiritual thing that we can do right now is not even related to meditating. It doesn't have cushions or incense or om. It's just you seeing other people and acknowledging their presence. Gratitude also helps. Just saying thank you to the people who come and take away the stuff from the table in front of you. Thank you. Just say thank you. Letting the divine show through you. In fact, not waiting for a special time, not waiting for it to drop in your lap and say, it's time to be spiritual. Stop it. Just all the time, every time, when, however you're showing up, notice what you're gravitating toward and notice what else you haven't paid attention to. The awareness is really all we really need. So at the end of the day, next time you walk past a tree or hear a piece of music, I want you to remember all the little pieces that made that music what it is, that makes the tree what it is, and then start thinking about what makes you who you are. You're an unrepeatable, divine note. And you're not meant to play by yourself. You're not meant to play alone. You're meant to play in a cacophony of beauty, and you're already doing it because you're here. And I just want you to take that energy and ripple it out and watch how the world becomes a beautiful piece of music in a beautiful forest. We don't want to leave out any of the metaphors. Oh, the body and circulating all the nutrients through the body of the divine. All right, let's go into prayer. Let me check the chat to see if anybody has any prayer requests. So in this moment, I'm just simply taking time to say thank you. The the sense of gratitude that I feel for having the awareness of my oneness with all that is, knowing that there can be nothing else except God being God as me and as you and as every single being that's in the sound of my voice. This is God in action. It's the universe expressing itself through in and all things. So with this unity and this oneness, I speak my word that right in this presence, there is all of the highest and the best. That right here, right now, there's love, there's abundance overflowing, there's life, there's wholeness. And the wholeness extends beyond that which we can see. And in this moment, knowing that the wholeness extends beyond the visible world, I speak my word for Paul, Tamara's father, who made his transition, and that I'm blessing Paul right now as he is on his journey on the other side of that very thin veil. That even though he is not anymore in the visible world, that he is still felt. His impact is still vibrating through those who love him and who are blessing him on his journey, wherever he is on the other side, knowing that he is loved beyond belief, that his impact reverberates on this planet long after he's been here. And this is what I know is true for each and every one of us, that even as we sit, even as we breathe, even as we participate, we still have time right here, right now to make that big difference, to just let our small ideas of who we thought we were, just let them go. They're nothing. That is fear disguised as logic, letting it go. And we step into the wholeness of who we are. We trust that we follow the divine idea of ourselves, and we give fully, loudly, and proudly, knowing that those who can receive it will receive it, and our job has been done. And it isn't even ours, it's the divine moving in and through and as us. So it must be all right. So I'm so grateful knowing that this is the truth, knowing that all is unfolding perfectly under divine order. And it gives me a sense of gratitude and absolute joy, as I can't even help but giggle as I see the world, knowing that it's all perfectly divine, right action happening right now. And so I release my word into the law, knowing that, oh, chef's kiss, it is done. I release my word into the law. I let it be. And so it is. Amen. Ashe.